So keeping pressure on this black's pawn's triangle. White is trying to prevent black of comfortably playing c5, because after b4, knight e4, then there is no check on a5. So black cannot develop the pieces conveniently. So after a4, black eventually took on a4, knight a4, bishop b4 check, knight c3, c5, castle, cd4, knight d4, bishop b7, and I think Spassky easily equalized and was even slightly better at one point in the game. But eventually there was another game that proved that White was having better chances. It's Kamsky-Salov in their match in Sanginagar in 1994. Kamsky very convincingly won this game and won the match. And that game, in fact, ended the popularity of this the line with d takes c4, b5, and a6. Alokin always tried to trick his opponents by having this bishop developed after using the moves a6 and b7, b5. He even played a6 against Capablanca, and by the way, won game 21, increasing his lead in the match from 3-2 to 4-2. So Capablanca played a3, and then after dc4, bc4, bishop takes c4, b5, eventually Alokin managed to bring bishop on b7 even without c6, and then played c5 and had a very comfortable game that he eventually won. So after a6, the best line for White is to play c5. Also, Capablanca several times took on d5, moving to a line, Carlsbad line, which we'll investigate a bit later. So structure, considering the a6 was not a very useful move there. But c5, it's the most principal move. It just demonstrates that a6 could be just a waste of time. And after c6, b4 is not giving White an advantage, but a serious advantage. But after bishop d3, bc6, simply taking on b6, White gains a solid initiative, as was proven in the match Portish-Petrosian. Portish won one of the games in this match, and also this game proved that Black would be under heavy pressure, and the line with a6 lost most of its popularity and virtually disappeared from the serious practice. But as you could see, there are so many little tricks. There's so many ideas that you could entertain by studying the games of old great players, of the past, and also looking at the games that played in modern times, played in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s. It's a little bit passive according to our understanding of modern chess openings, but it's very solid. And at the end of the day, it's for White to prove that it has to gain an advantage. So that's why there is no danger of playing some of the games with the classical lines, enjoying the beauty of the classical heritage. At the end of the day, we have to equalize with Black. That was the motto of the old good days. And let's White show what they have in their sleeves. Just to finish the general overview of the position after knight bd7, we have to mention queen c2. That's the line introduced and promoted by Akiva Rubinstein, who after b6, for instance, that's a move just to solve the problem of bishop c8, always plays cd5, ed5, and even long castle. So which was the great revolutionary idea of that time. He won some beautiful games, proving that White's attack on the queen side, combined with the pressure on the center, is far more efficient than Black's counter chances on the queen side. There were few great games won by Rubinstein, later won by Alexander Alokin, that proved that b6 was insufficient. So eventually Black had to stick with c7, c5, which is the most logical response, trying to attack the center. And after long castle, now Black could start exerting pressure on the queen side, taking on d4, eventually taking on c4, bringing knight on b6, bishop on d7, rook on c8. Also, the position is very, very unclear. I I love this position. When I was a teenager, I played it at age 16, 17, won a very nice game against Yugoslav Grandmaster Marovic at my first big international tournament in Banja Luka. And later I even played this line in more solid tournaments, and I beat Lajos Portić, who played here at age 6. And instead of just moving the bishop on h4 or playing very aggressive h4, which is also possible, I played something that sounds quite ridiculous. I took on d5, and then Portić, after spending some time to contemplate, he refused to play hg5, d6, f6, knight takes g5, which leads to a very complicated position. But Black, of course, has an extra piece, and he just played e takes d5. But then after bishop f4, I gained some advantage, because this structure of this Karlblatt structure is very convenient for white, because Black played h6, bishop went on f4. This is potential weakness, and Black has problems of having comfortable development of their pieces. So this game will be also entertained a bit later. So queen c2, c5, and now white could take on d5, and after knight takes d5, knight d5, e d5, bishop e7, queen e7, bishop d3, Black plays either g6 or h6, and dc5, knight c5, castle, and it's again classical position, isolated pawn, but it's slight advantage for white, which probably not enough to win, but enough to put pressure. So now you can recognize why Black tried to include, for instance, Portić tried to play h6 in this position, because after bishop h4, c5, cd5, knight d5, knight d5, e d5, bishop, sorry, it's cd5, knight d5, bishop takes e7, of course, first. Bishop e7, queen e7, knight takes d5, e d5. There is no bishop d3 attacking pawn on h7, so white can gain a tempo. So that's why the position is equal, because there is no opportunity to develop pieces comfortably for white. And as I said, after h6, white could choose of playing bishop h4, h4, or c takes d5. So again, it's always up to you to decide the pace of the game in the opening. So queen c2 is also a line that is being played quite frequently. Also, rook c1 is played more often. So that's a general, very general overview of the classical King's Gambit. So we should also talk about the positions, the type of the positions that we reached several times in this segment of our story. When white takes on d5, white takes on d5, and black takes on d5 as well. So with exchanging pawns c4 and e6, we reach the position classified as a Karlsbad structure. And this position requires more detailed analysis, more detailed investigation, and we'll do it to finalize our general story on the Queen's Gambit declined.